of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Seventh-day Adventists. Nobody? Okay. Roll call, please.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher.
Here.
McCardle.
Here.
Barrington.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Charks. Smith.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of consent agenda items. Items printed on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove? Okay, any discussion on any items?
We have the Corn Palace Festival closure and stuff on the consent agenda. Doug, do you want to talk about that and the location and all that type of stuff?
I certainly can. Thank you, Council, Mayor, Doug Greenway, Corn Palace. This is our annual festival closure. We did surveys. I think I talked with you about that last year of the downtown area, our public safety, and our board, and our Gold Star Amusement. And survey was done by downtown and all the other folks combined, and the data showed that it was favored to be, the better site was 5th to 9th Street. So that's where the festival will be again this year. This will be the 4th year of the festival in this location, and it keeps it around the Corn Palace. Of course, it is the Corn Palace Festival. Last year we did the consumption permit. You see that on there again. That was quite popular with our food vendors and our free stage entertainment, and we'll do a better job this year of signing that. So we had just a couple complaints. We'll keep that out of the kids' rides areas and things like that. So if they read their signs, they'll be well posted, and we're looking for a great festival. We've got a great lineup, 4 concerts this year, and I'll talk more in August, but we invite our community to reach out to cornpalace.com and see the full schedule of entertainment.
Thank you. Further discussion?
Move approval of consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address these items? Roll call, please.
Dosher.
Aye.
McCardle.
Aye.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charks. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor, members of city council, an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken this time. Mrs. Beck.
Mr. Everson. Good evening, Council and Mayor. Thank you for letting us speak for just a few minutes. I'm here on behalf of the Mitchell Area Development Corporation. We submitted our quarterly report to you. I'm sure you've all read it. And since I'm sure you haven't, I thought we'd just give you a few highlights. After me, I'm going to introduce Tiffany Batdorf, our new Chamber Director, and CVB, and David Lambert, who I know you know from the Heartland Development. Just wanted to remind you that our priorities with the Development Corporation is workforce development, workforce housing, basically doing anything we can to draw people to our community, and business retention and expansion. For workforce, I just want to let you know that we are meeting regularly with a workforce group that is focusing on getting any students that are in Mitchell to stay here as their forever home, whether they're a high school graduate from Mitchell Tech or from going to Dakota Wesleyan. You'll see the big welcome back to students. That we're turning that back on. We knew that was a popular promotion, but you'll see signs in the yards and messaging on marquees saying welcome back students, and anything else we can do to keep students in Mitchell once they're here. We do have software that helps our employers know how effective that their recruiting is doing online. If they're getting a low score, we're there to help them, and if they get a high skill or high score, we just recommend everybody do what they do. And just for your information, the largest postings are from Toshiba, Avera, Trail King, and Walmart in the Mitchell community. So We also can do custom reports, so if there are people out there who are making less than they would be in Mitchell for a job that we have open here, we can find them and we can invite them to come to Mitchell, and it takes into account the cost of living and where they're at and where we're here. That was a too short 2 minutes, so I'm going to turn it over to our CVB Director, Tiffany Backdorf.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Hello. As you all can tell, our chamber has been extremely busy. We had 7 ribbon cuttings this last quarter, and we also had a groundbreaking with the Orthopedic Institute. Oh, you can leave it at 2 minutes, it's fine.
All right.
And one of our big new programs that we started was our Accelerate Mitchell, where we invited 11 entrepreneurs to participate in our Co-Starters program, which is in partnership with Startup Sioux Falls. That was a great 10-week program that they were able to kind of sit through. We had great facilitators. We had Ryan Van Zee from Mitchell Tech and Laura Klock from Farm Life Creamery as our co-facilitators. We'll have another one of those beginning next spring, so be on the lookout if you know any young entrepreneurs that would like to go through that training course. It was a pretty hefty course. We are also starting our Mitchell Tourism Ambassadors program from the CVB side, that will start up in August, but this is in partnership with DWU. It will be a 7-week kind of hybrid online. We'll be meeting once a week around town here in Mitchell, but it's basically to get our frontline employees to love Mitchell and sell Mitchell. And when they finish a 7-week course, they will finish with 3 college credits. So we are hoping that this will kind of spur some interest in participating and loving Mitchell as a frontline employee, but also getting them back into college and help them to understand online courses are not as hard as they think. We had 2 of our task force from our Forward 2040 that met on a regular basis as well, our State of the Schools task force. So we will have a brochure about all of our educational opportunities from pre-K through college that Mitchell has to offer. That will be coming out of that task force. And then we also had our Enhanced Mitchell task force that was meeting as well. And we have our first public meeting from that group next Wednesday on the 27th. So.
Thank you. What she's talking about, just real quick, let me say something, Dave, before you step up. Next Wednesday, we are having a meeting on Lake Mitchell that will kind of give you an informative look at where we're at, where we're heading, what we're doing. Several people will kind of give short presentations to inform people of what's going on. One of the questions has been, what happens to fish in the lake? Well, Game Fish and Parks has agreed to come speak to that part too. So. No, a week from tomorrow, a week from this Wednesday, the 27th, 5 p.m. Is that right?
Yeah, it's the same thing that's in the packet.
Yep. Just wanted, I'm a visual learner, so just wanted to make sure that you all have it in front of you. My highlights are really focused on housing. That's what we've been focused on for obviously the last couple of years. And housing development in small towns takes time, it takes creativity, and takes patience. All 5 of my Dakota Heartland communities are in various stages of new housing development. The development corporations in Parkson, Corsica, White Lake, Armour, and Tripp are engaged in creating affordable developable lots, both infills as well as new housing subdivision development. Since the spring of 22 this year, 12 new housing units have become available in these communities, most in the $200,000 to $250,000 range. This includes 5 governor's homes, 3 stick-built single-family, and 4 twin homes, which would be 8 units total. 5 units of those were built in Corsica, 6 in Parkston, 1 in Armour, and 1 in Tripp. And of course, obviously, knowing that there is a market for those, both Corsica and Parkston are proposing to build their first 6-plex unit in each of their communities, which probably will open in 23. However, our obstacles for future growth include the availability of affordable lots, and when we talk affordable, we're talking 15 to 20,000. Builders, because there's a limitation to the number of carpenters that are available to do this, supplies, and cost of material, of course. Interest rates start to creep up, and that causes some concern among both buyers as well as obviously sellers. And then obviously the growing trend away from home ownership to rentals. And what we're seeing it is in the younger generation who are saying, you know what, we really don't want to buy. We are more comfortable renting, and if you provide us with something that provides very little in the way of maintenance and upkeep, we're perfectly happy paying the amount. So investment becomes one of those limitations in small communities and finding people that are willing to invest in those kinds of properties. If you take the 15 units that I mentioned to you that have been built in '22 and give them an average value of $250,000, that means that $3.75 million has been invested in those communities just in the last 6 months to a year. Future development continues to occur, and obviously we continue to watch the marketplace as you all do for housing development. Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll ask a question, Dave or Jerry, either one. You know, periodically we'll have something come up through the council, and even in the past year, there will be some comments saying, are you guys inventing this housing shortage, or do you really think there is a housing shortage? And I'm sit on the development corp with both of you. You're in smaller towns, and Jerry obviously being here in Mitchell. I just want everyone to know that there is an extreme housing shortage, and everything that we're doing, we're trying to accomplish that. So I don't know if you want to comment on that at all, or if you've got anything that you want to add to that. But
so Jerry can add, obviously, comments with regards to Mitchell, but I will tell you that in small towns, it's the Charlie Christensen, the banker at White Lake, the banker in Corsica, Luke Bamberg, the folks on the Development Corp, whether they be Mike Maxwell or J.D. Borman on Main Street, that are feeding us this information, that are saying individuals actually have come into the bank and said, we're qualified, this is what we're looking for, what's available.
You know, anecdotally, we hear from our employers all the time. If they just had a house, they wouldn't have stopped driving from Huron. They would have stayed here, and instead they're quitting and going to Huron. But in the study that was done with Davison County Comprehensive, there's information in there about that, the shortage. But we know for a fact that there was a flip right between the houses that were under 200,000 and those above in the last 10 years, and it went up like 40% and dropped 40%. Now, there are more 200,000 houses on the market, and I've been challenged with that. And the question is it just because they used to be 140,000, or did they really come on the market? So we also know Brookings has built about 3 times the houses that we have in the last decade. We know we have older houses than a lot of communities because we were an earlier city. So there's reasons for that too. We also have a study from Augustana on its way back, should be here in 2 years, that will help confirm some things about housing. So it won't be just us saying it, it'll be somebody professional. So.
Yeah, anything else?
Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Mr. Bender, how are you tonight?
Might as well just do it, huh? Good, how are you? Okay, this board recently approved a $97,000 study to determine equitable way to charge for water. Obviously, we don't have anybody competent in the city to do that. Now, I've known for quite some time Randall Water's been increasing capacity in anticipation of selling to us. Plans to build a huge soybean processing plants don't develop overnight. Mitchell needs a second source of water, but we're not in a hurry, so it sounds like a good opportunity for you to make some Donald Trump type deal, huh, Bob? But it doesn't work like that, I know. And we don't have a Donald Trump around. A case in point, Harvey Kelly House, you paid too much. Now, I don't think it's moral for our leaders to pump public money into rich people's pockets and special interest projects without doing the minimum amount of effort to get the best value for our tax dollars. So your agenda with this study is to become eligible for the next grant, to get that water project done. All you got to do is sell out the public a little bit more. I believe the level of corruption in our system is absolute, but it's all legal. You must jump through the hoops to get your agenda passed, regardless of what the need is, even if it's water. I just think the deceptive ways you go through, I believe the deceptive ways that these things are portrayed to the public are immoral. And they always turn out inequitably. American public's apathies led to where we're at nowadays, allowing ourselves to be led by this idiocracy. Your apathy leads to things like bridges being built with material that doesn't withstand the test of time. Your apathy allows our sewer systems to continually overflow and discharge raw sewage into our rivers for as long as I can remember. Special interest or not, we need that wastewater plant. It should accommodate the heavy flows. I say should because we're not actually addressing the problem, which is infiltration. Infiltration costs a ton of money to treat. Our $20 million lagoon expansion project will be filled before we know it. Daily Drive lift station, the first time I looked down that hole, I said, who's the idiot that engineered this? Relatively easy to fix, but instead it persisted for like 15, 20 years. It let the problem go. So now I drove by the new and improved Daily Drive lift station. It's down in a hole. The wet well is at grade, surrounded by gravel, which has already had washed over the top, so not only does it make a mess, but more infiltration on the project. Now large equipment's needed to service that lift station, and it's not a good place to do that. It's kind of a bad area. And on top of it all, when that lift station backs up, it will dump directly into the lake. Now, have any of you considered any containment measures just for when that happens? Okay, maybe you can do a study on how we can stop crapping in our waterways. I believe cleaning the Earth's water is the true climate crisis, so to speak. Levels of toxicity in our drinking water is staggering. Dilution is as the solution.
That's your time, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyway, I think we should get our water clean too. Focus on
thank
some
you.
of that. Thanks, guys.
Anybody else wish to address council? Okay. Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for City Council to recess, sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Barron. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Hearing and action on application for Vanderham Motorsports. Vanderham Motorsports has applied for conditional use permit to operate an automotive repair services facility located at 2951 South Raleigh Street. Legally described as Lot 11 of Iverson's addition, southeast quarter of Section 33, Township 103 North, Range 60 West, 5th primary meridian, Davis County, South Dakota. Said real property is zoned UD Urban Development. Mr. Jenigas.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this 6-0 with one absent. It is outside the city limits, but within the city's zoning jurisdiction. We received a complaint about a business being run there after serving papers to them. They came in with an application for this. An automotive repair facility is a conditional use in this area. They thought they had all their paperwork done. They've got a tax ID license for it already, so they thought all the steps were done with it. Discussion during planning and zoning, it's going to be a part-time job for him. He already has a main job, mainly works on his own, but did require a tire machine, so he will be doing some other repairs for other people. It'll be in the back shop on the west side of their property. There were 3 letters that were sent against this. One had concerns about junk being piled up around, kind of like the neighbors to the north. One had was against showing the covenants that are on the land, and one was against for hours, junk, devalue property values. There are covenants. I have the covenants with me for that land. We do not regulate covenants at all. They are not even filed at the Register of Deeds for these covenants. The applicant is here if you have any questions for him or if you have any questions for me at all.
Mark, of the neighbors that got sent letters, is that the letters we got back, or was it neighbors that were not on the list?
It would have been the letters from people that were on the list. The one that was an all-encompassing just said neighbors of Vanderham Motorsports. So I don't know who that actually came from, but the other one, that one's across the street. The one to the south would have gotten one as well. Yeah.
Did you get this one?
I did not receive that one at all.
I just had it on my desk. I think I read about that one.
Oh, I did not see that one. That's from Kyle and Melissa Crego.
Has the county heard this?
County will not hear this at all. This is strictly city zoning jurisdiction.
So with the letters you got, is there, how many is against and how many is for it?
That would be 4 letters against 04.
And did the zoning committee have these letters when they voted?
They had all
in
except for
favor?
the Crego one when they voted for it.
I'd like to ask a couple questions to the Vanderhams if they want to come up.
Hi, I'm Dustin Vanderham.
You want to tell us a little bit about the business first?
Well, I just acquired a tire machine recently. I just try and work on Harleys on my spare time. I'm just trying to be legal about it. It's a hobby, really. Just work on Harleys. That's it.
And you live at
Yep.
the residence?
We've lived there since 1998. Built the house in 98.
Did it just repair, it's not selling?
Yep. I just do motorcycle repair and tires, motorcycle tires, that's it.
So with the negative letters that we got, did you get a chance to visit with any of the neighbors at all?
Nope, nobody's said anything to me, so I didn't even know who was.
You weren't aware that we were receiving?
Yeah, I
these
didn't know
letters,
anybody was
more than
complaining,
likely.
because nobody's said anything to me, so.
Okay.
Although 3 of the 4 letters were at the planning and zoning meeting, and so was this gentleman. So, that we were aware in the planning and zoning that 3 of the 4 letters were already presented.
So if we would give you an opportunity, would you visit with the neighbors to see if there's an opportunity maybe to come to some
Yeah,
common ground?
I mean, yeah,
Because right now, it's pretty tough for us to vote this in.
right.
With the neighbors not wanting it out there. And I don't know what the rest of you feel or not.
I'd like to see it delayed or postponed for at least minimum 2 weeks.
Okay,
See if you can go and talk to, obviously you know the names now.
well, it's those 4 red dots, those spots is,
Probably is.
yeah, so,
And I would go talk to them and see if you can get something that you guys can work out.
yep,
And one recommendation you may want to take in consideration, we've done this before, is if we approve it, we can approve it with a condition that it lasts for a certain period of time, and then that gives everybody an opportunity to come back and see how it's going, and see if they're still against it, or what you're committed to is saying that yes, that's exactly what he's doing. We've done anywhere from 6 months to a year on that particular option, so that's something you may want to consider too.
Okay.
I think there's a Rasmussen too, this 75, I think.
But not on the list.
No, is he getting email?
Yeah.
He's going in.
You know, the neighbors listed a lot of concerns that they had about this. They mentioned covenants. We don't have anything to do, as you heard, we don't have any control over what the covenants are, whether they're not. But this is a residential area, not a business area.
right.
And they're concerned about, you know, are you going to test drive these things that you're fixing, and are you going to be going fast down the roads? Are you going to be working on them late at night? And I think one of the things that I've heard that they were concerned about is are you going to have a lot of stuff laying around in the backyard and that's going to be unsightly, so that when they're sitting out in their backyards, are they going to have to look at the stuff that's laying around? And
We've actually been trying to clean up our yard. We had an old drag from the snowmobile club back there, and we got rid of that, and we've been trying to get it cleaned up around our area. We actually just had somebody move in next door, and we've been working with them too to try and get it looking better around there, because my other neighbor, the farm that way, it usually looks pretty crappy over there.
how many vehicles or motorcycles do you anticipate having at any given time?
Well, if I am working on anybody's stuff, it'll be inside the shop. I will not have anything sitting outside.
Like, do you have space for?
Yes, that, in the shop out back, I have plenty of space to keep whatever I'm working on inside. We try and keep everything inside the way it is. The only thing we have sitting outside right now is trailers. We own like 6 trailers, so.
One of the things they also said that when people don't pay for the repairs, sometimes you set things out in front and put them up for sale. Is that true?
No, that's not true.
You've never done that?
No, never. Haven't even been open to the public. The week I got my LLC, I got the letter from you guys to shut down. So I hadn't even opened my doors to the public yet.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Maybe I'll make a motion to table it for
2 weeks?
maybe, no, months, 2 weeks if we should.
Well, if we table this, would you prefer 2 weeks or a month to visit?
2 weeks, because not too hard to talk to my neighbors. Yeah.
Every 2 weeks is.
I'll make the
Yeah.
motion to table it for 2 weeks.
Okay, motion by Mr. McCardle to table for 2 weeks. Sorry, postpone for 2 weeks.
I think I said that.
It sounded like table, but he said postpone, yeah. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion?
I would recommend that you convince these people that have spoken against you to win them over, because there's power in numbers, and if you have 4 out of the 6 or 5 out of the 6 neighbors opposed, you're going to be an uphill battle. So I'd recommend to you that you meet with these folks and try to win them over.
Yep. And it's the red dots that I need to go talk to, right?
And Mark has got the list.
Mark can give you a list.
All right.
And then, Dusty, some of the things that we've done in the past with some of the people that are doing this too is maybe, not where the word compromise, but what would they look from you to do to get approval from them?
Right.
Do they want you possibly put a fence up? I don't know, but what could I do to get you to support me on this so I can open up my own business? Because nobody wants to have a business not open up. We're all about obviously promoting Mitchell and getting stuff to open up, and maybe it's just the fact of, hey, if it's Rasmussen or Craigo's or whoever, what do I need to do to get your blessing to get the yes on this?
Right.
Maybe it's something more simple than what it really is, and you're saying you're cleaning up the neighborhood or cleaning up your area, I guess. Maybe that was something in the past that they didn't like, and now you're doing it.
Right.
Those kind of things where we can maybe try to give us a run for 6 months or something like that, and then come back and review it again and hopefully get you up and going. Because we want to support you, no doubt about it, but we got to watch what the area says to us, so.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to postpone for 2 weeks, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Good luck.
Action set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 8/1/22. Ethan Co-op Lumber on behalf of Darwin and Pat Kreth have applied for a variance for a combination of attached detached accessory buildings of 3,036 square feet versus 1,050 square feet to build a new detached accessory building of 1,656 square feet located at 2709 Menser Court. Legally describes lots 5 and 6, Block 3, Woodland Heights, First Edition, City of Mitchell, Davis County, South Dakota. Said property is zoned Woodland Heights Plan Development District.
Set the date. Second.
Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Reconvene the City Council. Obtain a motion for Board of Adjustment to adjourn City Council. Reconvene in regular session. Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve application for renewal of malt beverage license for J. Lynn Crafts LLC, doing business as Board and Brush.
Mayor and Council, Chief Coster from the Police Department. We have no concerns about this item.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve acknowledgement and waiver in relation to 514 North Main property. Mr. Johnson.
So this agreement and waiver, acknowledgement and waiver would be in relation to the old Northwestern property that the city recently transferred to the chamber. They intend to further transfer on the building due to the conditions that we built into the deed. This is another step in the process that we need to go through. So they advise us of the sale that they intend to make, and then we'd have to choose whether to exercise our option to repurchase that property. So if the council approves the acknowledgement and waiver tonight, we would be waiving the right to purchase the property for this transaction. It would still stay in place for those future transactions, much like we've been doing on the case, old Casey's lot.
Move to approve the acknowledgement and waiver.
Motion by Mr. Rice. Second by Mrs. Charks. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve resolution R 2022-43, South Dakota DOT big application packet for Canal Bridge Project 2022-21. Mr. Schrader.
Yep. Mr. Mayor, Council, this request is for approval to submit a South Dakota Bridge Improvement Preliminary Engineering Grant application to the Canal Bridge. The grant would provide design services for construction of a new bridge. We discussed this at our last meeting. There's a failing timber on that bridge. We are currently at half the legal load limit. Estimated cost for the design is $85,800, with the city's share being 20% or $17,160. The application is attached, which was prepared by Bros Engineering. Staff does recommend approval of the resolution by City Council for the mayor to sign the application and the resolution. I know I was asked how many years do they think the bridge would last if we eliminated truck traffic and just allowed residential traffic. Bros Engineer said realistically maybe 10 years before the bridge would not be safe anymore. So if you look at this process, we start this now, and in 4 years, if we're building a bridge, we're probably not too far away from, that being realistic anyway. And with that, I'll open it up to any other questions you may have.
The only question I've got, and you addressed it, Joe, was what if we just shut it down to truck traffic, and could we get by without having to pay for another study and another design? But the timeline, even if we start today, it might be 2025 or 2026 or 2027 before anything would get done, and that's if we get a grant. And if we don't, I guess I'm just of the mind to probably keep it, we probably should keep it closed to truck traffic until we have something in place, both from a safety standpoint of, I don't really envision that having semis drive by when people are on the bridge and in the area fishing and those types of things is a really safe environment, and that we have the bike path there. We're asking people to go to that end of the lake, and then we're driving trucks by. And that just doesn't seem to fit to me.
That's no different than going down Sanborn and Haven Street and you got a sidewalk right next to the road, Steve. So you put it 25-mile-an-hour speed limit and you move on. But we'll worry about that later.
Okay, further comment? Entertain a motion.
I'll move approval of the application for the bridge improvement engineering grant.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Charks. Second by Mr. Smith. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
Mike Bathke. I want to know who was the original builder of the bridge?
I don't know.
Who would know?
I mean, I could go back through the records and find it.
Do you know the initial cost of the bridge?
I don't.
Okay. A discussion in one of the lake meetings was, who owns the water under the bridge?
The city.
Are you sure? Because one of the gentlemen that lives on the canal wanted to put a retaining wall in. And Mr. Macheski told him he owned the canal. And Mr. Mayor said, no, he don't.
I don't think he
The
does.
little bit of research I've done, he owns it. The courthouse did not call me back today again. So my point, I guess, is the bridge only lasted 22 years. I can't say it was faulty work, but we put a bridge there for one reason, to sell expensive lots. Let's fill it in. We don't need it. We have a bridge on the other side. That is not the natural flow of the water. That's why if you go out there, I've been in there a few times, it's as green can get. We don't need the bridge. Let's fill it in. Why spend $2 million and stick the $2 million into the lake and fix it? Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-44, resolution of support for a housing infrastructure financing program grant, South Dakota Housing Development Authority.
The City of Mitchell received a request from Mitchell Housing Incorporated. They are looking to apply for a housing infrastructure grant when it becomes available. They're thinking August 1st for the application timeframes. One of the requirements of the application is that the city has reviewed the plans and determined that we will accept the infrastructure that is funded with the grant after it's done, and that we have the capacity to serve the plans as developed. The only criteria, or the only caveat that we put in there is that we have reviewed the preliminary plans. The grant plans, or the document that they had out for public comment, said that there would be a conditional approval, so we'll get a chance to see those final plans before they're approved as well. I can answer any questions that you have, but really Mahi was just asking for the resolution of support so they could be one of the first applicants. It's my understanding they were told that those who apply first are going to have better consideration for grants.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this?
I just have 1 minute?
Sure. You have two.
Yeah. So if things go well, you'll see other resolutions from other organizations in Mitchell that are doing housing. There aren't any income guidelines or the value of the house. So basically, it's kind of a first-come, first-qualification. So we're hoping that we can get this done and then provide assistance for other people who want to apply.
Okay. Questions, comments? Anybody else wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve Resolution R 2022-45, a resolution amending the 2022 compensation plan for the City of Mitchell. This is, as you know, we've been talking about SEA and bids and whatnot, and we are looking at we moved SEA meetings over here to the City Hall, and we're looking at working with a full-time coordinator to handle this. So we put this together after discussing with council in executive session. Ms. Elwine, you want to carry it from there?
Sure. We went through the factor analysis process that we do with any new position. I was asked to look at those SEA duties as well as other special projects as assigned by either the mayor or if he tells me to assign it to someone in his absence. It would be similar to the Public Safety Administrative Coordinator that we already have in the Public Safety Department. I did send out the full job description, and I included in the agenda the cost impact. And I think I'll pull that over there too. So you can see the total cost impact. It was proposed that the funding would come out of the 2022 revenue that's going to be received above budget as a supplemental appropriation halfway through the year. Later at the end of the year for half the cost. So I can answer any questions that you have, but really it was looking at doing special projects as assigned, like I said, bringing more events and usage into the city facilities, working on, let's see here, I'll pull up this other sheet too. Here's the full job description. We would also be having them coordinate the special event application and permitting process that goes through city. They'd probably be looking at grants and other administration items that come up. We would be having them do updates on the website, social media, postings. You can see there promotes facilities and the increased use of facilities within the city for community groups, market city venues to community groups. Responsible for developing and coordinating and publishing the calendar events to multiple websites and publications outside of the city's event calendar. Other projects, coordinating and research and planning. They'd also be required to do statistical and reporting on any programs that they're assigned, including SEA. They would be the point of contact for any bid boards that we're working with and doing all the board administration for those volunteer boards as well. I can answer any questions that you have, but that's the general guidance that I was given to make the proposal. So
as we start working through trying to renew our bid with hotels, we would see this position as being a key role in that as well.
Yeah, and I just want to make a couple comments. I was somewhat instrumental in getting the hotel bid kind of up and running and kind of overseeing, or at least the committee for a while, and now Kevin's taken over. But one of the items that from the very beginning that we talked about, we knew we were going to raise somewhere in the 70, 75, 80, and 80 seems to be kind of the number that is coming in with the 50 cents that's associated with it. And so when we first sat down with the hoteliers and said, you know, how should we go about doing this? How do we want to get the money into the hands of the associations and the people that are hosting the events? And they said, you know, if we hire somebody with the salary, you can see the salary up there with all the benefits, you would have basically wiped through all the 50 cents that's associated with the Sports and Events Authority. So I guess then we kind of went back and decided, well, let's do a volunteer board, and we will then have the individuals come in on a monthly meeting, make their presentations, and then we can determine what we think the event should be funded, the amount. And so we've been rolling, you know, approximately whatever 70, 80,000 into these events to encourage them to host and get bigger here in Mitchell. We actually at one point, and Stephanie, you might have to help me, remind me a little bit, we did have one, working with the chamber, had an individual hired that was going to then, with this position, go out and meet with the associations or go to the South Dakota Activity Association meetings in Pierre or be with them or try to work with others to host events. And unfortunately, that person decided to move just a few weeks or months after we had them in, and so that didn't quite work out. So it was kind of back to the drawing board, and you know we kind of all agreed that we're underutilizing our city facilities, and the fact that, you know, we can't name another town that has a corn palace and a lake within the city limits. So we are rather unique, and I think this person should pay for themselves if in fact we hire the right person.
In the 4 years that I've been in office, we will be on the 6th person that's been trying to handle this job. We need some continuity to keep things going forward.
I guess the one thing I omitted is the mayor had asked to make sure that I have enough tasks listed in there that we would be fully employing a full-time employee. And I do believe with the added items in it that this person would be busy year-round in addition to the SEA work.
I think we got a bunch of facilities that sit around town that don't get used. I mean, this is what this person would come in and do, bring things into these facilities that sit empty, they sit and mow them, and nothing happens to them. Generate some revenue with them. I think the guy would pay for himself.
Well, I'll be voting no on this. We've sat here numerous times and talked about how well our third penny sales and other things look, how well the hotel occupancy looked, and we didn't have this position in place. To make up $90,000 to me for a permanent job forever, because once the city puts a job in, we very rarely eliminate any. In fact, I think we've only eliminated 3 or 4 in the 10 years that I've been on the council. I presume other people are going to vote for it, and that's fine. I don't believe this is city government's job to do this. We have a chamber and a development corp and a CVB that can do this, and for at least the 10 years that I've been on the council, there has been nothing but good said about how that was operating, and even when it started up, the SEA question came up of, well, who can run this? And the chamber said they can because people in the city offices at the time said they didn't want to. So now we're going to create a new job that's going to last forever, or at least I doubt it will ever be taken out of the system. And I guess as we talked in one of the past items on the agenda tonight, I would like to know what metric we're going to use to see if this job is actually providing the $90,000 or more payback. Can we base it on, there should be an increase in third penny sales, it should be measurable, we can maybe base it on a past three-year rolling average or 5-year rolling average, because we have COVID in there, and if it doesn't go up, review it at the 2023 budget, and if it doesn't go up, eliminate it. That's what I would like to see. I will be voting no.
Yeah.
My initial reaction when this was proposed was, I hate to see a city government getting bigger with employees. Unless there is something measurable that it's performing the way we wanted it to. We have these plans that this will happen, that'll happen, but what if it doesn't? That's my concern.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve. Sorry.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? Okay. Roll call vote, please.
Barrington.
Aye.
Allen.
Aye.
Charks. Aye. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Rice.
No.
Dosher.
No,
McCardle.
Motion carries. Executive session, according to South Dakota Codified Law 125-2-1, 3, and 4, personnel, employee negotiations, and legal. Entertain a motion? Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. There will be no action after executive session.